Hello, this is Tony Heller from RealClimateScience.com. 70 years ago, the Australian government knew that Australia was much hotter prior to the year 1910. Australian climatic data show that for the period 1911 to 1950, the summer rainfall over much of the southern part of the continent was considerably greater than in the previous 30 years, and for the same reason, mean daily maximum temperatures in the interior were appreciably lower. And they published this graph showing how summer temperatures had plummeted prior to the year 1920. 1913 was a very hot year around the world, including California setting the all-time world's record temperature of 134 degrees. The Australian press discussed some of the incredibly hot temperatures recorded in Australia's past. Burke, New South Wales has recorded 646 days over 110 degrees Fahrenheit. And as you can see, hot days were much more frequent and much hotter prior to the year 1910. As of 1995, the Australian government showed that the hottest temperatures ever recorded in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland, and Western Australia all occurred prior to the year 1910. But all of the hot weather prior to the year 1910 is not convenient for the global warming agenda of the Australian government, so now they hide all the temperatures which occurred prior to 1910. This allows them to make claims like 49.6 degrees Celsius is record heat for Australia. But in 1995, the Australian government knew that Australia was hotter in 1877, 1939, 1906, 1889, and 1888. Hiding the heat of the past is critical for the Australian government to convince the public to believe their climate superstition. In 2003, the United Nations said that skiing in Australia was doomed by the year 2030. And 5 years ago, one of my favorite climate fraudsters repeated this claim that Australian skiing was doomed. But Australia's been having record amounts of snow, and they're having a record-long season as well. Some ski resorts in Australia had difficulty opening because of too much snow. This is what Mount Hotham looks like tonight in the beautiful moonlight of the Australian Alps. I'm not convinced that the United Nations has any clue of what they're talking about. YouTube cites the United Nations as being the authority behind the propaganda banners they frequently put on my videos. In 1988, the United Nations said that the Maldives were going to drown by the year 2018, but from their webcam it appears that the Maldives are doing just fine. Governments are simply making up scary stories with no scientific basis in order to frighten the public. Erasing the past is a critical part of this agenda. The pink area in this graph shows the hot years which the Australian government is hiding. Climate alarmism is based on misinformation about the past and false prophecies of the future. Toto's been pulling back the curtain on the very big money global warming scam for the past 14 years. You can visit him, Kyrie Caesar, Toki, and Upla on the web at realclimatescience.com.